Prior to my spiritual awakening in my mid-30s, I didn't believe about spirit guides, the afterlife, psychic energy, none of that. I thought it was all for crazy people. That's before I had two separate, undeniable experiences with two different spirits. After that, my entire world changed because I could not deny what happened. I hung out with these beings for 3 days, talking to them, communicating with them, getting information. The conversation was just as easy as any other conversation I've had with a human. But after those 3 days, it all went away. I wasn't able to communicate with the spirit world anymore. So that's where my spiritual journey really begun. I spent the next 2 years trying to figure out how to have those types of conversations with the spirit world again. I traveled the world going to all kinds of spiritual retreats. I mentored with many of the big names that are out there today. I read tons and tons of books. I even went to the UK and studied at the Arthur Findlay College, which is a world-renowned psychic and mediumship school. Along that journey, I met some really cool people and had some pretty amazing experiences as well. But nothing like those first two experiences I had with the spirit world. Everybody talked about having experiences like that, but nobody could show me how to have them. So at the end of those 2 years, I was frustrated and ready to give up. But I just couldn't deny those initial experiences. I knew that they were real. And that's really what drove me, because I know if I didn't have those initial experiences, I would have given up right then and there. So ultimately, I decided to throw away everything that I had learned over those 2 years because it just wasn't working for me. I decided that I was really going to analyze my initial experiences with the spirit world. I ultimately came up with that idea because when I had that experience, I knew nothing about the spirit world. I never trained. I never had any experience prior. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what a chakra was. I didn't know anything. And even though I didn't know anything at all, I still had those experiences without even trying. So when I began to analyze, I was really paying attention to what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was experiencing those first initial couple days. And I started to have some really big insights. Whenever that happened, I would play around and I would experiment with the insight that I had. Little by little, I was really understanding how it all worked. After 6 years of grueling trial and error and analyzing and failing, I figured it out. And during that experimentation phase, I was involved in my local spiritual community. I would attend all kinds of events and share my experiences. And time again, people would come back to me and say, "Hey, we did that stuff that you taught us and it really worked. We're starting to have experiences too." And I was like, whoa. I wasn't teaching anything. I was just sharing my experience. And they told me, "Well, we did the things that you talked about and it worked." It was really crazy for me to hear that. I almost didn't accept it, but time and time again, more people came around saying the same thing. Everybody kept pressuring me to hold a workshop and start to teach this, and I didn't want to do that at all. I had no desire to teach this whatsoever. But I got pushed, and reluctantly, I did my first workshop. About 20 people came to my first workshop, and I was scared to death. I had no idea what I was going to do. So I did the only thing that I knew how to do. I just talked about my experiences and the things that were happening to me. And then after 45 minutes of me talking, I put everybody in pairs and I said, "Now you go. It's your turn." The room was dead silent. I was ready to turn around and run out of that door. Then all of a sudden, one of the women sitting in the back said, "I'm starting to sense this female energy. She has short, brown, curly hair," and then went into great detail describing the spirit that was standing right behind the woman that she was reading for. Next thing I know, everybody in the room was talking. Everybody in the room was channeling and connecting with the spirit world. For the next 30 minutes, I just looked across the room in amazement. I couldn't believe what was happening. Eventually, time ran out and the class was over. After the class, one of the students came up to me and she introduced herself. She told me that she was a skeptic and she really didn't believe in any of this, but she said that she lost her husband 20 years ago and has been having a very hard time getting over his passing. She said that she's been stuck in grief and barely has any energy to get out of bed. She told me that she was desperate to reconnect with her husband and to know that he was all right, and that's why she came to my workshop. What she told me next changed my life forever. She told me that my 2-hour workshop snapped her out of a 20-year grief spell because she knows without a shadow of a doubt that she connected with her husband and that he's okay. And after my workshop that evening, I had 2 other students come up to me and tell me similar stories. In that moment, I knew exactly what my life purpose was.